First things first, Mark, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
That's great to hear. So I kind of want to jump straight in because I saw the album title, Omega, and then I kind of looked into it a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, well, maybe first it's easier to ask, when did this concept pop into your head?
Yeah, I was first I was reading a lot about the theory, the omega point, and it's about like a scientific speculation of a spiritual belief that we are fated to spiral towards one point of divine unification, and that sounded so amazing to me. I thought, wow, I want to know more about that. So I did dive in the topic, in the concept, and I read more and more about it, and I decided to write about it, and so the omega point theory became an important part of the album. And so from one thing came another, and that's how we discussed, shall we take the omega point as album title? But it didn't sound convincing to us to have that title, so we thought, let's take just omega. It's short, powerful, and to the point.
Fair enough. Now, what I find interesting, and obviously we just had a listen to the entire record, and I kind of try to pay attention as much as I can. And now there's a song called Freedom, and as you say, the Omega principle is kind of this deterministic way of going towards a certain point. Do you believe in free will?
Yeah, it depends. Depends. Yeah, I have to explain like this. I think we have a potential of free will, but if you are not aware of how to create it for yourself, you are living like in a sort of movie where you are the actor in your own movie, which is already pretty determined. But if you learn how to make conscious decisions and to create your own reality, then you reach the free will. So it's a matter of your lower self. If you are a victim of your lower self, you be like a slave of your own ego. While if you know how to turn it around, then the lower self serves you, and you are in that way, you learn how to serve others. And I think when you reach that point that you start serving others, you overcome that point, and then also you have more free will.
Because there was one line, I think, in Freedom about freedom of choice.
Yeah.
Now, and this
have a choice.
Well, this is going to sound crazy, but I kind of remember Sartre once saying, "Well, you always have a choice of suicide, so there's always choice."
Also, with that, there's always a choice, and I never judge anybody for the decisions they make, but I don't feel what the people feel who come to such a decision. But I know for myself that I would never make such a decision. I believe that we are here to go the full ride. So myself, I whatever I go through, and I also have sometimes difficult periods, I would never make such a decision. But I really think whatever we go through in life, it's a learning process. But like I said, I never judge anybody else who comes to that point, because they might have experienced even way more difficult stuff than I have. So I will never be able to judge.
Sure, but it's an interesting idea that of what you just mentioned, because when you look at the previous albums, then what is one thing that you kind of really learned maybe in the last 5 to 6 years and applied it to this new record?
Yeah, and that's also one of the topics of the album which we applied, which is more working together, because as a society we more and more started becoming individuals, and each and every one of us feeling a sort of competition between companies also, but also on a personal level. And we learned also with the new album that even though we have already this concept lyric-wise, we wanted to do it also in reality, to work more together as a band. So we came together in a house in the fields in the middle of the Netherlands, in the middle of nowhere, and we sat there together working on each other's songs, really as a team. So we have this lyrical theme, but also we implied it in reality. So it's one big part of unification.
What was that like then to be back in the same room? Because some of you live in different countries, and I assume over the years as you make albums, it becomes more of a job. It is almost inevitable that it becomes more of a job. So what was it like just being in the room with the guys?
Yeah, we really don't want to experience that it feels like being a job, because if it would for me feel like I'm doing a job, then I would feel like I'm doing the wrong thing in my life. For me, the creation of an album is still the most beautiful thing there is in the whole process of being in a band. I love the creation part the most, even more than playing a live show, and way more than recording it, because that's the least part that I like. But the creation of it is just beautiful, and I would never want it to feel like a job. If it ever feels to me like a job, I would even, I think, not be able to continue. Then I would start doing other things that would bring me more joy.
Sure. In that sense, is this kind of partly why it was necessary for you as a band to take a break for a little bit?
Yeah, because also if you're already for such a long time together and you feel like you need to reload the batteries, then you better do it before you keep going on for too long, and then maybe it implodes. And we avoided that by taking some rest. Of course, we couldn't figure that there would be some COVID situation coming up. If we would have known, we would have maybe put a little bit or break a bit later that it would fit the COVID situation. But yeah, you never know such things up front.
Well, when you were taking that break then, were you already writing, or did you really take a break and then once you kind of reconvened, then started thinking about...
Actually, the break wasn't really a break. So we worked on the book. We also wrote already some material. And in the meantime, there was also some other work for Epica was going on. So actually the break was not a real break. So now with the COVID, we have more of a break, even though there's a new album coming up, but all the work basically is done. So the whole album is finished, like you could hear, but now there's more free time than we had during the break of the sabbatical.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get a second one, a forced one.
Yeah, maybe it was needed. Maybe even though it was not decided to do it like this, it should also not take too long, hopefully, but it was useful.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And in terms of the music then, because, well, I hear a lot that either albums are a reaction to what you've done previously, or they are very much a snapshot of a moment in time. So for you, what did you want out of this record in terms of the music? Because I hear some Middle Eastern influences. And, what did you want to do differently, but also without compromising what Epica is?
Yeah, the only thing we discussed before was that we wanted to have songs that basically each and every song on the album would be a song that would do well on a festival, for example. We could imagine ourselves playing that song each song that we were writing, to be playing it on a festival, and the crowd would keep going. And that's what we had in mind, and that was the goal. And within that given aspect, we gave ourselves some freedom to also experiment a bit with refreshing elements, like the singer from Tunisia, from Mirat, who sings on the Code of Life song. And that's something also refreshing, that we never had such a singer. And so it's really every time we force ourselves also to explore some new paths. And so we did also this time. So it was really nice to sometimes work in a different way and to come to new things that we would have never achieved if we would have just keep on working the old way.
Do you, either personally or as a band collectively, do you feel pressure in a sense in terms of when you start writing and kind of leading up to where we are now?
And not really pressure. It's, of course, we have this healthy pressurous feeling like we have to deliver, and like fans expecting now something from us. We cannot just make something that we are not 100% convinced of, because then they would be disappointed.
Sure.
So that kind of pressure we feel, but it's not a negative pressure. It just pushes us to get the best out of it. I think it's a good thing. I never feel like so much pressure that I feel that it's like a burden. That's
okay.
That's not like.
So you just have you set a high standard for yourself.
Yeah. But that gives us the opportunity to get the best out of ourselves. So we need that.
In that sense, and obviously some of the audio recordings had to be done in an improvised way because of COVID. But was this a difficult album to make?
No, actually everything went very smooth.
Okay.
It was one of the easier albums to make. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think first of all because we were so well prepared already to record it. Everything was until the very last detail was fixed, and there was nothing to discuss anymore. It was just a matter of recording, and that's also why I could record my stuff, my vocals in Sicily, in Italy, without having any discussion if people would like it or not. Of course, there were some things that while I was recording, I thought I can do this even better. And all these things turned out to be better, so we kept them the way I did them. I did them in Sicily, and as I have a good recording studio, a home studio, it was no problem to work this way. And yeah, also the rest went very smooth. And also, even though the COVID came in between, all the things like the choir and the orchestra were recorded already before this happened, before this hit us. Before the lockdowns, so we were lucky in a way that we could finish it in a pretty smooth way.
All right, that's good. Final question then. You just mentioned kind of you really wanted that live sound, capture a live sound to make people get excited when you play live. And now it might be far off. We don't know when we can play live. But which song on the album are you looking forward to playing live the most?
Yeah, there's a couple that I really look forward to play live, and Abyss of Time, the second song, which is actually the first song if you don't count the intro. I look very much forward to play that one, and Seal of Solomon. These I think are really cool live songs. Also the Skeleton Key, that's also I think a pretty cool live song. And the Freedom Song. There's quite some songs.
So then when I was listening, because we had the chance to listen to the entire record just now, and when I was listening, there's two things that struck me. One, that it was very energetic in a way, but also very cinematic almost. There's a great cinematic quality, and you've had that before in your music, but did you emphasize that a little bit? Yeah,
because we now worked with the real orchestra of Prague, we emphasized it more than, for example, on the holographic principle, because it gave us the opportunity to work with these people this orchestra sounds so great, you should hear it. So that's give it a bit more of a cinematic feeling, I think, compared to the holographic principle.
Yeah, fair enough. Mark, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you too.
Thank you.